You know that recipe that your mom gave you, your grandma gave you, and there was a story that she might have told you about it when she was handing it to you or she was making it for you for the first time? This next clip is all about how to record that story, what to write down, what to ask about, and great follow up questions to be able to capture the stories behind the recipes that our families and the women in our lives pass down, and of course, the men in our lives. Check out the clip, and if you have any questions on what's in the video, feel free to leave them in the comments. Hello, this is Gail, the Legacy Lady, and you are watching or listening to Legacy After Dark. Today, we are going to be talking all about cooking and stories surrounding cooking. And basically, what we're going to do is walk through the legacy storytelling method live, which I haven't done in a very long time, so I'm excited. This is an opportunity to get a piece of paper, maybe do it on your phone, get a writing utensil, and you can work on writing one page of your story. Stories about cooking and writing about cooking memories. So as we inlay human experience, there's a lot of cooking in our lives. We have to eat. And because we have to eat, over decades and centuries, we've developed different ways of cooking and all of our holidays are, a lot of it has to do with food. There's always some sort of food. You go to a party, there's always food. At least most parties. I'm sure there's some parties that don't have food. And I'm covered in feathers because my jacket is molting and I'm covered in feathers. Anyways, cooking. So a lot of our memories originate in the kitchen. They are surrounded or they're wrapped in things that happen in the kitchen, things that happen around a table, things that happen on that in-between space between the table and the kitchen. And if you've had people over where in one of those parties where you've worked really hard to clean the rest of your house and everybody still ends up in the kitchen, regardless of how clean the rest of the place is, I understand. It can be quite frustrating. But kitchens are where people feel comfortable and it's easy to congregate there. And that goes back to that home hearth idea. And now that we're living in a time where, for most countries, we're cooking on electric stoves or gas stoves, and it's still where people congregate, which is awesome. So cooking memories. So there's different ways of looking at cooking memories. If you're looking at specifically a specific recipe, so something that's maybe passed down from generation to generation, when you're writing, the memories of that, you can be looking at a couple of different storylines and timelines. With the legacy storytelling method, it's made up of the 5 W's, which takes us all the way back to first grade writing, maybe second grade. But it's who, what, why, when, and where. Once we've answered those questions, so I like to call that gathering our facts. So once we've gathered our facts, then we go a little bit farther in on some feelings, some emotions, and that's digging a little deeper into the memories. Now, we don't always have the person in front of us to ask them. We don't always have that information about how they felt. This is where people surrounding that person could come in and weigh in on maybe how they think that person might have been feeling. And then for those of you that are doing genealogy research and family research, and you're potentially looking at stories from people who are, already dead and have been for a very long time, and everyone around them has been dead for a very long time, then it's kind of up to your imagination, which might go against what you feel like we need to be doing, but we can kind of extrapolate what might have been going on for that person in that moment or with that recipe. That's kind of an overview of what the storytelling method does and walks through. And so I wanted to walk through a little more specifically how you would go about writing a story about a memory using my storytelling method. I started talking a little bit about multiple timelines and storylines. So when you're looking at a recipe, you have at least 2 storylines.
you have your storyline as the person who's currently using the recipe. And then you have the person who gave you the recipe, who showed you the recipe. You have that storyline as well. And so each of those storylines have two different timelines. You'll have two different dates for the when. So the date for the first timeline for the person who gave it to you would be when did they first get the recipe, when did they first make it. And the who for them is whoever is around them in that moment. The where would be where they made it or where they received it. And if you don't know all of those things, that's fine. This is a guide of how to structure these stories and what to look for, rather than a set, you must do this. Okay? On that storyline, I really should label these A and B. Storyline A is the person who gave you the recipe, and storyline B is your storyline. Okay? So for A, you have dates that are probably further back. You have places that you might not have been to. So that might require some research on getting more information there. It might involve family members who you might have to reach out to find out more information about what was going on in those moments for those people. And then on your storyline, some of your storyline facts will line up with storyline A, but storyline B tracks your personal interaction with this recipe. So it's the first time you heard about it, saw it, it was shared with. And another date on your timeline will be when you first made it and all the things that happened when you first made it. And that also includes the who's and the what's and the where's and all of those pieces that make up that little vignette of that moment. And when you're looking at the feelings and the emotions and digging in deeper, it's the same concept. You have storyline A and all of their pieces and storyline B and all of their pieces. So that's kind of how I approach the recipe. I like being able to see all the pieces that make up the story that is on that one little tiny recipe card. So I have recipes from my grandmothers, and I have recipes from my mom, and I have recipes from my mother-in-law, and we all have these like little recipe index cards, or maybe they like to write them on bigger things. Most of my recipes are in my phone. So it'll be interesting to see how our children and their children document these things and try to hold on to the recipes and stories that we made. With the cooking memories, we can focus on specific recipes, like I just walked you through. And then you could also just do cooking memories based on, this is sad, but the last time you cooked a meal with your mom or the last time you cooked a meal with your grandmother. And you'll notice I'm saying she's and moms and grandmothers, mostly because most of the cooking is done by the women in the household. But absolutely, if you have men in your life who have taken up that mantle and love cooking, remember to ask them as well. So for the cooking memory side of things, it's really can be anything that sticks out for you, or the mundane stuff. The one time you made pancakes that they all got burnt. I guess that's not really mundane, but so something that went horribly drastically wrong, like the first time you made something, or the time Aunt Susie almost burned the house down because she got sidetracked on something else and smoked everyone out of the house. I've done that. I've ruined a couple pans, and those are all cooking memories. So all those things that make up the food fabric of our lives.
You've been watching an episode of The Legacy Lady talking possibly legacy after dark, and this is it. This is the end of the video. I would love if you would subscribe, and even better, share this video with someone you love. I will see you on the next video, and in the meantime, happy writing.